for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report. I'm Barbershop Jay. I'll be your host for the day. Here's what's happening. Joining me on the show today, as always, is my cat from the NYC, a.k.a. Rucker Park, Brother Rich. Brother Rich, what's happening? And my man on the other side of the ledger, the guy from up north, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J. Tell the people what you say. Yeah, well, actually, we only kind of got like really one topic today, but it's very, 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 very detailed. And you all know what I'm about to say. Oh, my gosh. Here we go with that. Okay. Can you let me get to that? You know, we are scripted here at times. We are. Can you let me get to that part first? But I'm with you. I feel you on that. And speaking of you saying dog pound, as you all know, we're talking about the 2019 NFL draft. And this is the Shop Reports after the draft special, so to speak. But before we dive into some of the picks, who was what, and some of the news surrounding the draft, let me say this. I didn't get to see the second round or the third round. Is the third round over, by the way? Yeah, I believe it is. Yes, 2-3 days when the draft starts? Thursday, Friday? Yeah, the third round is over. Yeah, that's the senility. Y'all know the senility is going to. Okay, yeah, well, the senility is going to kick in at some point throughout the show, maybe more than once. But anyway, I watched the first round, and I'm looking at the first round, and I'm saying to myself, why does this year's draft feel so ho-hum, so to speak? And you know why? Because the Browns are not in headlines, and that's a good thing, huh? Because that tells me that finally, we've gotten away from the draft being our Super Bowl to actually putting the things in place to actually win a Super Bowl. And there's some who are saying, there's some people jumping out the plane at 50,000 feet saying that the Browns will win it this year. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, D.B. Cooper, they ain't never found him, so you know what I mean? And he ain't have a parachute, I guess. I don't know. Because they're jumping out the plane. That's not without a parachute. It's just not a good thing. But I say possibly within 2 years, realistically. Now we have to address this whole idea of football as a sport. We have to constantly say that, all right? And that football is war. Every down is like combat. So when you're dealing with or talking about injuries, those things will most likely, hopefully they don't, but you have to factor those in as well. We'll get to it. That's not our first subject here. We'll get to it eventually. We'll discuss the Browns and the role that they did play in this year's draft and talk about Dorsey possibly moving up to the first round and so on and so forth. But the one thing about Dorsey and the Browns that I liked this year, in addition to, of course, not being in the first round forever, is that the moves that they made were for depth. And I don't recall a time, maybe in the early 80s and mid-80s, when Bernie and them were doing that, Ernie Accorsi and all them guys. But since 99, I don't recall ever a person that sat in Dorsey's seat ever even attempting to do that. So we get things started with Nick Bosa. I found it interesting, and this is Ohio State's Nick Bosa, who was drafted by the 49ers. Why was there no steam on his tweets? The racially motivated or insinuated, his tweets that he had out like they do for everybody else. You know what I mean? A guy can tweet something 12 years ago, and then once he gets in the spotlight, they bring that stuff back up as if it means to slam the character, so to speak. Okay? But his tweets were, and those tweets that have since been removed. And then I found it interesting that Trump would congratulate him, but not Kyler Murray. Brother Rich, you want to say first? And more interestingly enough, Double J, I'm gonna let you weigh in on that too. Um, to not congratulate, I felt like it was more of a reason to congratulate Kyler Murray, just for the simple fact he was the first player to ever be drafted, if I'm not mistaken, in the first round or first pick or whatever in both Major League Baseball and the NFL. That's never happened before, right? Exactly. So why would you not congratulate that guy, if of nothing else, for those reasons alone? Because he stands in not select company by himself, so to speak. All right? Double J, go ahead, have your say. Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? Right quick, a correction on Kyler Murray. He was the ninth overall selection in the 2018 MLB draft, and of course, was the first selection in the 2019 NFL draft. So I was saying, oh yeah, that's right. Sure was Russell Wilson, who signed a nice little contract, and I thought that was a nice gesture on his part too, to award his offensive linemen what $12,000 a piece for to have their way on Amazon, so to speak. Spend as you wish. I thought that was a nice gesture. Hey, yeah, right. You guys are gonna be blocking for me. I need you all to keep me clean this season, and I'm glad for the guy, man. He got his money. Up next, though, or let me ask you this. Let me ask you all this next. The Giants. This whole situation with the Giants. Now, they took Daniel Jones. For all of you all who don't know Daniel Jones, I'll get to him in a minute. The quarterback from Duke over Ohio State's Dwayne Haskins. And I thought, like many people, even the pundits were shocked. I wasn't so much shocked. I was just kind of stunned, like, wow, okay. Even if you don't think that this guy is your guy, whatever it is, from my understanding, and I'm not, nor have I ever been an NFL GM. I've not been a GM on any level. But 1 + 1, I thought that's what we were doing here, equals 2. If you're drafting a quarterback and you're the Giants, you have to have something to base your reasons for drafting a guy off of. And if you don't have a lot to go off of course, you watch the tape and so on and so forth. But, those people in those positions, they use a lot of numbers, all right? We know that. They're BPIs, stats, things of that nature. So you had to look at, in order the production of the two guys. First, let me tell you what Chris Carter said after the Giants did this. And these are his words, Chris Carter. I just can't go on without saying this. I forget what show he was on. If Dwayne Haskins, as an African American, goes to Duke and puts up those mediocre stats, 7th in the conference, I believe they are, for Daniel, he's not drafted day 1 or, excuse my French fries, damn day 2. So when you start talking about a guy can't comprehend, that stuff is racial. Double J, what'd you say to that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brother Rich, before you have your say, let me point this out as well. In his junior season, Jones threw for 2,674 yards and 22 touchdowns against 9 interceptions. In his sophomore season alone, Haskins threw for 4,831 yards with 50 touchdowns against 8 interceptions. And I find it interesting that both are in the same division, that being the NFC East. So, Brother Rich, what you got to say? Hold your thought. Hold your thought. Hold your thought. We got to call Gully, I believe, is calling in. Hold your thought. Caller, go ahead. All right, it's all good. Brother Rich was having to say, we're talking about Dwayne Haskins and who did I just say here? Who the Giants just drafted? Yeah, Daniel Jones, the Duke quarterback the Giants drafted, as opposed to Dwayne Haskins from Ohio State. Go ahead, Brother Rich, finish your thought. All right, Gully, what you got? You want to weigh in on that too? But they both black though. They both black though. Uh-huh. No, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones. Yeah. Okay. No, no, no. I'm just getting ready to say that. You have to look at the draft order, and I don't have that right here in front of me. I got other articles and stuff up, but you got to look at the draft order, the first round, and when he was picked and all that. A lot of teams don't. A lot of it wasn't everybody that needed a quarterback. You know what I mean? How many teams need a quarterback? Maybe I don't know, 5, 6, or something, or whatever it is. And you got to look at where they were at and so on and so forth. But as far as Kyler Murray and who don't need one? Oh boy, yeah. Yeah. As far as Kyler Murray and Dwayne Haskins, I mean, you can make a case for why Kyler Murray was better or is better than Dwayne Haskins, and I like both of them. But the idea is, when it comes to Kyler Murray, the Cardinals took him, for whatever reason, and they got rid of Josh Rosen. That's a mess going on over there. But you got to ask yourself, and this is again something that I really have a take issue with. Kyler Murray, it wouldn't have been no question about what he is and what he could be if he was 6'5". Everything stayed the same. If he was 6'5", the only reason folks started questioning about what was going to be and what is because he measured out at 5'11" and 3/4 and 1/10 of a nickel or whatever the case may be. My thing is, if you can play, you can play. You get what I'm trying to tell you? Drew Brees ain't 6'5", and neither is Baker Mayfield. He ain't 6'5" either. You know what I mean? But if you go to a staff, which we'll get to Dwayne Haskins again in a minute, because I actually like him. I think he's a better fit with Washington than he would have been with the Giants. But I just, again, found it interesting that if you need a quarterback, I think by far Haskins is better than Daniel Jones or whatever. And I only watched him like once or twice, but, I mean, and if statistically his completion percentages and all that, they're not that bad, actually. I think he played 3 seasons or whatever the case may be. And in his first season, he had his completion percentage was 61 point something. And his second season was 63 or something. But then the third season, and in the middle, I think it was 55 or something. So it all averaged out to 59 point something or whatever it is. But, and then, his touchdowns, interceptions overall, his numbers are not horrendous. But, I mean, Haskins blows his numbers out the water. So I figured, if you're going to pick a guy based on, that being a part of your equation or your formula or whatever the case may be, I figured that Haskins would have went. Yeah, but that whole Kyler Murray thing, Kyler Murray I know the position was quarterback, but of the three, Kyler Murray is head and shoulders above them two guys for me. You know what I mean? He doesn't have the measurables. You know what I mean? People put a lot of stock in the measurables, and I get it. But, the measurables don't mean or don't mean that you can or can't play. I want to take a look at some of the draft notables. Now, again, I only looked at the first round. I was only able to see the first round because my work schedule changed. And, of course, I had to go in to fulfill my work duties. But, like I said, it was ho-hum for me. You know what I mean? So I was kind of, listening to one part and not listening to the other part. But there were a couple of guys that were mentioned that stood out to me. And I will address the Haskins thing, as far as him going to Washington. And I just said, with his talent, he'll benefit from, some would argue, two of the NFL's most underrated offensive minds in Jay Gruden and Alex Smith. Similar to me to what Bernie Kosar had in Gary Danielson. Would you agree with that, Brother Rich? What about you, Double J? You know who Bernie Kosar is, right? Yeah. Oh, and before you say it, I just want to apologize. I know the Detroit Kitty Cats didn't do so well, and I know you weren't happy about that. But go ahead, finish your thought. Allegiance. Yeah, got you. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. You know, I want to mention, Gully, did you want to say something briefly? If you did, say something about what I said as far as, yeah, because about Jay Gruden and Alex, about Haskins benefiting greatly from Jay Gruden and Alex Smith. Yeah, I think that was actually a better fit for him. All right, some of my draft notables from the first round, of course. Ed Oliver went to the Buffalo Bills. I don't care what game it is you're playing. If it's basketball, we talking about inside out. That's where it starts. If it's football, it starts in the trenches. You build the trenches and then build out backwards. Unless, of course, and you need a quarterback and you get yourself who, Brother Rich? Yeah, I figured. It took you too long, man. You got to be on cue there, brother. Ed Oliver. I'm not saying this is going to take the Bills, vault the Bills to 10-6 or 11-5. I'm not jumping out of the plane without a parachute. But I'll tell you what, keep your eye on that dude on that interior off defensive line for the Buffalo Bills. That's the dude from Houston. Man, that dude, my goodness. He a monstrosity. And again, I'm not saying you're not going to hear me say, oh, he is another this player or he is another that player. I just know he has the capabilities. He puts me in the mind frame of a Reggie White. Again, not literally, but figuratively. Listen. You got to let me. I'm not saying Reggie. I said not literally, figuratively. In terms of how he moves, how he gets offensive linemen out of the way. He uses his hands very well. He doesn't, because you get tired, going up against them big, heavy dudes, play after play after play after play with your hands on your hips. He knows how to use his energy well. Reggie White used to get to the quarterback so effortlessly that I don't ever recall seeing him with his hands on his hips in a game or breathing heavy. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to tell you, especially playing nose tackle or defensive tackle, you're getting triple team and double team sometimes. Oliver sheds blockers very, very well. He's very, very quick on his feet, the whole nine. He's just going to be interesting, I believe, on that defensive front for the Bills. Christian Wilkins. I don't know how much stock you all place in what a guy did, because another defensive lineman for the Clemson national champions. Not saying they're my team, but I'm glad they beat Alabama. Ooh, my bad. Still a Canes fan. My bad, Rohan. Okay. His college numbers for a nose tackle. Okay. Now, if you see these numbers on the outside linebacker, you might say, I don't know. But for a nose tackle, this dude had 40 and a half tackles for loss in his collegiate career from the nose tackle position. Am I the only one to find that sort of kind of impressive? No? Yeah? Okay. I guess I'm by myself then. To go along with 16 sacks at the nose. And he went to the Dolphins. It's warm down there. He's going to be good on that interior line too. And then my boy, Dexter Lawrence. Now, I will say this about the Giants. They sure know how to keep a fearful front four. If they don't do nothing else, the Giants. And, Brother Rich, you can attest to this. You being, NYC, right? Yeah, huh? They keep some defensive linemen and linebackers, man. What is going on in New York, man? My gosh. And then last but not least, my boy, Jeffrey Simmons. Of course, because those who are holier than thou get to be judge, jury, and executioner, his stock, keyword, fell due to some legal issues that some would argue aren't just to begin with. But I'm glad the Titans saw fit to say, excuse my French fries again, damn the nonsense. That dude will go good on that D-line. And even though I like Oliver, Haskins, and Lawrence, if I had to say right now, of the four, I think Simmons will have the biggest impact for his team on the defensive line than the other two. And the other two will do their thing. Anybody agree or disagree? Now's the time to say it. Good. Oh, okay. Okay, who disagrees? Who disagrees? Okay, go say your piece so I can dispatch you too. Go ahead, say your piece. They did. That is true. Yep, that is true. Really? You think so? Oh, yeah, well, I don't know. I like Josh Allen. I like Josh Allen. You know, that's who I wanted the Browns to get last year, to be honest with you. I didn't dislike Baker. I love Baker's moxie. He don't care about nothing and nobody and so on and so forth. But I didn't. I thought his stature would hurt him. You know, I can't stand when that's the case. You know, these guys are questioned two or three times more so than the other guy because they're not tall as the other guy. You know what I mean? Then why ask them? Can you look at my film then? You know, just go get your tape measure. But anyway, yeah, I don't disagree with you, Double J. You know what I mean? Because he will get 1-on-1, but so will Simmons. You don't think Simmons is gonna get 1-on-1 in Tennessee? And you know Vrabel know how to use now. But wait a minute. Wait, hold on one second. When you say in New England, I think back to Vince Wilfork. Vince wasn't he used to get a lot of 1-on-1, didn't he? Yeah. Yeah, yeah, okay. Okay. That yeah. Got you. All right, that's fair. Well, Gully, you got anything you want to say on that? Yeah, because you kind of sound a little pronounced, a little bit more. I can hear you a bit more stronger than everybody else, like you're too close to the phone or something. Okay. Yeah, all right, Double J. I'm with you on that. You know what I mean? So you're saying of the four, you expect Oliver to have the biggest impact and most immediate impact? Okay. So Brother Rich, who you let's do that then. Let's do that right quick. Okay. Of the four, let me say the names again. Ed Oliver, of course, with the Bills. Christian Wilkins, Clemson, went to the Dolphins. Dexter Lawrence went to the Giants, and Jeffrey Simmons went to the Titans. Of the four, Brother Rich, I'm asking you, who do you think will have the most impact? Okay, got you. All right, so you going with Dexter Lawrence. The Double J, you going with Ed Oliver, right? Okay. Yeah, yes, yeah, yeah. It's possible. I don't disagree with that because, you know, I watched a couple of games of his. You know, once they start putting the spotlight on him, you know what I mean. I started. Okay, let me see if what let me see if I can see what they're saying. You know, out of this guy, and I think it was a game against. Do I want to say Kentucky? Oh man, I think it was Kentucky. Man, he got off the ball so quick. It was like the center didn't even hadn't even snapped the ball yet, or had just snapped the ball. You know what I mean? He couldn't even. You know, and in the next couple of plays, you saw how the center called points left and points right and points forward or whatever the case may be. From that moment on, the guy was pointing like, "Hey, you know what I mean? He over there. You know what I mean? We're gonna slide the protection left, slide the protection right. We can leave everybody else on the other side unblocked, but you better make sure you block that guy. He quick, man. He quick, and he does not use up a lot of energy to get to where he's going, and he knows what he's doing. For a guy, to me, who, you know, coming out of college, he has a skill set that you don't see often, you know what I'm saying, with a lot of young guys, especially, you know, playing defensive line or whatnot, man. He seems like I thought the same thing about Courtney Brown when he was at Penn State, him and LeVar Arrington. But I don't know, Ed Oliver, he just do it different. So, and Gully, who you picking? I'm taking Jeffrey Simmons. But I understand Ed Oliver. But who you got, Gully? Nobody? Yeah, now that's very interesting too. Double J, let me get back to you right quick. Let me ask you something. Do you think that Buffalo being Buffalo and being a cold weather city, you think that will affect him late in the season? Elements, yeah. And then let me ask you one. Yeah, let me ask you all one last thing. This is my last draft notable. The Seahawks drafted DK Metcalf with the 64th pick. Do you see him using that as motivation? Because he was you want to talk about a talent? This dude was a first round talent for sure. Will he use that as motivation to materialize, so to speak, into that talent that folks were saying that he was before, because I believe he had some sort of issues too or whatnot, you know. And then there's some people that said he's lazy, felt like he was self-entitled, so on and so forth. But, you know, getting picked 64th, because he had thought he would go sooner. I did too. Actually, I thought the Browns might have been trying to snatch him up maybe in the second round or something. Well, I thought he would go in the first round, to tell you the truth. I thought he would go maybe a little late, because there was some talk about Dorsey trying to move back up in the first round, and I didn't know if Metcalf was one of those guys. But Brother Rich, did you watch the draft, right? Okay, and I know you did, Double J. Gully, you watched it too? Because, like I said, I only got to see the first round. I wanted to make sure you all watched it. You probably, yeah, you all probably watched it, more of it than I did. But this DK Metcalf, Double J, I mean, do you think he that's motivation for him? Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, right. You know, and speaking of which, you talk about Russell Wilson. He, like Baker, is another guy who he had to go get it. If he wanted it, he had to go get it. I'll never forget, never forget that whole situation with Matt Flynn and Russell Wilson came into camp, and Pete Carroll didn't even hesitate. He told Matt Flynn, "We appreciate your services. You can keep the money. We'll holla." You understand what I'm trying to tell you? Because this dude took it. You know what I'm saying? That's what Baker does. He take it. Hey, give me the guy. Give me that guy. I'll take that guy over the guy who come in with the Louis Vuittons and the Crockett and Tubbs sunglasses on, thinking that somebody owe him something, and he just fresh off the bus. Give me the Russell Wilsons and the Baker Mayfields. Yeah. I bet you I win more than I lose. All right, let's talk about what the Browns did. Brother Rich's favorite subject. I know he's been chomping at the bit to get to this. And yes, dog pound. Yeah. And let me repeat. For the first time in as long as I can remember, the NFL draft was not a Browns fans' Super Bowl. When I say this draft was uneventful as it gets, I'm telling you, it was as uneventful as it gets. Again, the first round maybe. And I'm glad not having the Browns as a main attraction can only mean Cleveland's beloved franchise is finally on the come up. Would you agree, Brother Richard? Yeah. Yeah, it's time. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, you know what? I had the best seat in the house anyway, at the house. Okay, I'm not coming down there with all y'all crazies. I mean, I got a pair of bunny slippers. Huh? I got a I got a pair of bunny slippers I just bought. Man, y'all not about to get me up out my slippers, man, for that nonsense. I'll watch it on TV like I do all the other parades. Okay, yeah. So what we'll do first here, of course, now that we're on the Browns section of the draft, is we will go and look at a few of the players. Not a few of the players. We'll look at who the Browns selected, all right? Now, some of these guys, I don't know who they are. But the ones I do, I'll give you my little spiel on them, so to speak. In the second round, the 14th pick, the Browns took cornerback Greedy Williams, LSU. It must be something down there in that bayou that's going on, Brother Rich. What's going on in that bayou? Was it because bayou starts with the letter B and Browns start with the letter B too? I mean, what's going on? Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Double J, you hearing this? Gully, you hearing this? Oh, my gosh. You all. Gully, you eating it up too? Oh, my gosh. I should mute all of y'all. Anywho, I will say this, though, about Greedy. Can you say Minifield and Dixon? Now, I'm not comparing. I'm just pointing out that folks shouldn't. Hold on. Hold on. No. I said I'm not. If y'all want to, y'all, that's fine. Y'all go get y'all own bunny slippers and make comparisons. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I'm saying I'm not doing no comparing them. Okay? Because Minifield Dixon and Eric Turner and Don Rogers, man, they hold a special place. Meanwhile, though, back at the ranch, I'm just pointing out that folks should not be surprised should Greedy and Ward end up being bookends. Because that's what Minifield and Dixon was with the dog pound in the 80s. Huh? Bookends. That's all I'm saying. Brother Richard, do you agree? Okay. Double J? Oh, my gosh. What defense? Okay. Oh, my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. And when you said I said about the defense, yes, I'm all for the defense. Okay, I'm not. Y'all make it. What did I say? Something that I didn't like about Greedy? There's something over there. I said Greedy Williams. I said bookend. My gosh. So y'all just looking for a reason to combat me. You see what I'm saying? But it's not gonna work. I got a shift I got to go do. They made me work twice in the same day. But I digress. Round 3, pick 17, 80th pick. Now I don't know who this guy is. I watched a couple BYU. I think he's from BYU. Sloan, and I am not about to get Sloan T-A-K. Is that L-T-A-K-L? Tackle. I don't know. Forgive me for butchering the guy's last name. I'm not familiar with this guy. And a lot of people. I'm in a couple of groups on Facebook, Orange and Browns turn around, Cleveland Browns fans for life, couple of Browns groups, and the conversations there are, folks took issue with Dorsey. Man, why you get that guy? Why you get that? I said, that's fandom talking. You know what I mean? If you say you can't say you trust Dorsey and then have an issue with this. Now, look, will Dorsey miss on a pick or two? Well, probably. Okay. I mean, come on now. Man is human. But I tell you what. He'll have way more hits than misses, and can't nobody else that sat in his seat since 1999 say that, huh? That's what I thought. I don't know who this guy is, but I'm going to trust John Dorsey. And then in the 4th round, I do know who this guy is. Excuse me. Can I get up? Hold on one second here. Let me get up for my man I'm about to mention. Sheldrick Red Wine, safety out of the University of Miami. The U. Come on, man. Listen here. No roster in the NFL is complete without one Kane standing on the sidelines. Huh? That's what I thought. Tell me I'm lying. That's what I thought. Huh? Everybody around here talking about running around here talking about they want to get rid of Duke Johnson. Now, if Duke said he don't want to be here, then okay. I said, my gosh, we get Kareem Hunt and Chubb, now all of a sudden everybody else is expendable. Duke is trash. You're entitled to your opinion. But guess what, though? You were one of you for you on your team, if you know what I mean. Huh? The U, baby. Sheldrick Red Wine, safety. Now, there's been some conversation to say that he's going to replace my man, Jabril Peppers. Real talk, I like Peppers. But his exodus, I don't think was really a loss. I think we mentioned that. But in addition, can I say again, my man Sheldrick Red Wine. Huh? Y'all talking about greedy. Have some wine with that. Yeah, the U, baby, the U. Yeah, so look for him to be starting on day 1 next to Randall and Mitchell and Ward and Greedy. Oh, my gosh. I got to take some leave. I'm thinking, I'm seeing all of this transpiring in my head, and I'm like, whoa. Defense, baby, defense. And in the 5th round, with the 17th pick, 155 overall. And here's what's interesting. Linebacker, Mack Wilson from Alabama. Gully, why do you think he fell so far? Because Mack, if at worst, should have been a 2nd rounder. Because he's a thumper. Huh? Man. Look, hold before you say anything. Again, now, we got to wait till they get to the next level. I get it. We got to temper. But based off what they did, the resumes we got to look at, when I say this dude is a thumper, you know me. I've always said, look, we need players on this team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, who when they make a play or do something that have fans all about their seats, they tell the guy on the field, look, man, don't take it personal. I got to do this to you. This is my bread and meat. If I don't lay you out, I don't eat. Mack Wilson is a thumper, baby. Go ahead, Gully. Well, he should. To Brother Richard's point, to Brother Richard's point, he got good teachers. Finally, you know what I mean. And I've said this before as well. When a student is having trouble with information, so to speak, you got to take a look at the teacher. So, Brother Richard has said more on countless times, on countless occasions on the show, coaching. Coaching. So, yeah, in this case, I definitely think that'll play out because Steve Wilkes will have these boys ready. In the 5th round, the Browns finally took one of your guys, Brother Rich, a kicker. All right, but my question is, I don't think we're going to need him. You know what I'm saying? Why go for 3 when you can get 7s? Hello. All right. Let me give you a little. Okay. Yes, indeedy. That's right. Baker, 6 plus 1 is 7. Austin Selbert. Anybody know that guy? I don't. You, Double J? You, Brother Rich? No? You, Gully? No. Okay. Good. And I hope we don't have to know him either. I'm glad he's on the team. Huh? I am. But unlike the Chicago Bears kicker, we all know his name, right? I don't want to know Austin Selbert like that. But I'm glad he's on the team. Yes. 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 Exactly. That was my point exactly. Indeed. I'm glad you said it that way. In the 6th round, the Browns picked a guard, Drew Forbes. Don't know who this guy is either. But apparently John Dorsey and his scouts do. And then lastly, in the 7th round, the Browns took another cornerback or defensive player, defensive backfield player, Donnie Lewis. Now, even though we just went through these names of players that the Browns have selected, I'll say 2 things about this. One, a few of these names we know, and that's cool. More so, a few of these names we don't know, and that's cool too. Because at the end of the day, this is your depth, right? This says to me just how stout your frontline guys are. You know what I mean? Your household names are, so to speak. And then anybody, these guys could become household names. That's cool, except for the kicker, right? We don't want him to become a household name. But this is added to the depth. But out of all these moves that Dorsey has made, again, in 2 years, he's done far more than what any of the past regimes have been able to do in, 18, 19 years? That, to me, speaks volumes. I'm not jumping out the tree saying that the Browns going to go 12-4 or 13-3, and they're going to beat the Steelers on the last-second field goal, and Antonio Brown going to come back and redo his mustache. It's not going to be blonde. This time it's going to be red. I'm not going through all of that. That's for them fans who, they get excited and they crush beer cans on their forehead. I'm not going through all of that. But out of all these guys we just mentioned, there's one guy who stands out to me the most and is, to me, embodies what Dorsey is and has done so far with his team. Do you all know who Damon Sheehy Giuseppe is? Okay, whoever that was, they seem like they know. Who is that? No? Nobody knows? Okay, let me read you the story. Let me read you. Brother Rich, you looked up the article though, right? When I told you about it before? Okay. Nick Shook writes for the ClevelandBrowns.com. This article came out, and I've been saving it. I wanted to mention it a couple of shows ago, but I said, no, the draft is coming. Let me save it. And I'm glad I did. It came out on the 11th of April. Nick Shook wrote this article. And I'm going to read to you all the article in its entirety because afterwards we're going to discuss it, of course, and him. But it just sums up not just Dorsey and his impact and what he's meant for the Browns in this short time, but what as a player you have to have and the stick-to-itiveness and the desire and the drive and all of those things that seem to have been kicked to the wayside. When we talk about sports in general today as if though when I say about the NBA, Basketball. The storylines have created the game, whereas the game and these types of players used to create the storyline. And these are the types of players. This is where Dorsey has made his mark to me. The headline reads, "The improbable story of how little-known wide receiver Damon Sheehy Giuseppe," I hope I'm saying that right, Guiseppi, Giuseppe, landed a tryout and ultimately a contract with the Browns. A little more than a week ago, and this was at this time, when the article was written, Damon Sheehy Giuseppe was sleeping outside. It was just him, his 2 bags, and a patch of grass in Miami, Florida. He was spending his nights getting as much rest as he could outdoors, just steps away from renowned NFL combine trainer Pete Bomarito's facility, where Giuseppe had spent his last $200 on training services. Let me repeat that. His last $200 on training services. He did so because he had no other choice. His workout with the Browns, perhaps his one and only shot at the NFL, was a week away. It gets better. If that doesn't sound preposterous enough, here's how Giuseppe worked his way into a tryout for the Browns. He convinced them he was supposed to be there. Now, here's what's interesting. Check this out. Bear with me. Let me take a sip of water here. For whatever reason, my pipes is clogging up. Bear with me. Oh, Giuseppe, who's based in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, was once an NJCAA All-American returner. He racked up 1,178 kickoff return yards in his first season at Phoenix College. Then improved on that by leading the nation in kick return yardage, 1,278, and kick return touchdowns, 4 in his second season. He also, bear with me here, where's this? Oh, he also finished second in the NJCAA in yards per kick return, 32.8, and punt return yards, 400. Now let that sink in for a minute. All the while, he yearned to grow as a football player, frequently asking offensive coaches at Phoenix College to help him become a wide receiver. They declined, telling him to focus on being the best returner he can be. See, that's not a good teacher. Giuseppe thinks part of it had to do with his reserved nature, which didn't help him build a rapport with the coaches he needed to help guide him. Brother Rich, to your point, coaching. And even then, he really wasn't supposed to be on the roster. He didn't make the basketball team at Mesa Community College, finding himself instead running track until a car accident derailed the end of his first season. He didn't get a call back after working out for Phoenix College, the second junior college he pursued. But while there, Giuseppe obtained a schedule for summer workouts and just started showing up with persistence. By the end of them, the staff really couldn't say no to his participation. Now, I'm going to stop right there because we've had more than enough conversations on this show. This, to me, this last piece I just read is what I have been saying and embodies player accountability. When you want it, ain't nobody got to tell you to go get it. I can show you how to do it, but if you want to do it, it's going to come down to you. So far, I don't see nothing in nobody in there saying, nobody Browns coaches saying, hey, man, come over here. He had to put himself. Ain't that what you said, Double J? I had to put myself in front of the right people. Absolutely. See what I'm saying? This dude who so far, and this is a little bit more to the story. Maybe I'm missing something here, but I'd like to know who said to this guy, go do this. Who said it? Well, let me read on. Maybe somebody did say go do this and go do that, but from what I read so far, don't nobody say nothing. When you want it, you want it. Give me them kind of guys all day long. So as we move ahead in time to when Giuseppe had the smallest sliver of a chance to run in front of NFL-associated eyes, it comes as no surprise then that he carved out a spot in a place he didn't belong. He did this. When you want it, I digress. Giuseppe arrived at a workout in North Miami after learning of the gathering from a friend of a friend made through a flag football league in Arizona. The connection played coy on the details with Giuseppe, causing him to almost miss out on the opportunity. And then there was one more catch. He might not be allowed to participate. How bad do you want it? I digress. I was like, just give me the address and I'll talk to them myself, he recalled. So I show up and the guy says something to me. He was like, who are you? Huh? This wasn't no Eli Manning with the pedigree already in place. Or no Peyton. Or no Tom Brady even. Excuse me. Giuseppe found out Brown's vice president of player personnel, Alonzo Highsmith, would be at the event scouting prospects. Do I need to read that again? This is a message to all you young players playing whatever sport you out there playing. He researched the Browns. The Browns wasn't looking for him. He wanted it. I digress. So he researched Highsmith to figure out what he looked like. Didn't even know the dude looked like. Then when he saw Highsmith, but only after he had to convince the man in charge of admission that he was supposed to be there and that he and Highsmith were familiar. Now, how bad do you want it? See what I'm saying? This is what the Browns are building. This is what it's about for me. This is what it's about regardless of the sport. This is what it's going to always be about. The foundation. They were not familiar, that is, he and Highsmith. Knew nothing about him, Highsmith said of Giuseppe. I ain't know nothing about this dude. Giuseppe spotted Highsmith when the latter arrived. Beelined over to the personnel man and introduced himself. What you say? What, say that again, Double J. You got to do what? That was enough to get the man with the list to write his name below the printed expected participants, which was also enough to earn him a chance to run the 40-yard dash. So let's break this down now, because then I'll get to the last portion of this article. This dude went above and beyond for his opportunity. And when he got the opportunity, when he went there, the folks who got off, now I'm sure it was a whole bunch of other prospects who's invited. Entitled. Yeah. The admissions dude, before you can even get anywhere near the folks that you're trying to get to, it's a guy, a bouncer at the door. You get what I'm trying to tell you? So to speak. Man, who are you? And man, I'm supposed to be here. A 4.38 was good enough to catch Highsmith's eye. He had an excellent workout, Highsmith said Thursday. Caught punts well, ran fast. I called Brown's assistant general manager, Elliott Wolf, and I said, hey, this Damon Sheehy, man, he ran fast. He goes, really? I said, yeah. He caught the ball well. I'm thinking we should bring him up. And then I was like, well, maybe we'll wait. But then I thought about it, and Elliott goes, well, let's just bring him in now. It starts at the top. See? I love Odell Beckham. I love Baker, Denzel, Miles, all of that. When I say look inside the numbers or look beyond the surface, I rarely, if ever, stay at the manifest portion of whatever it is I'm doing, especially in regards to this. I'm always shooting for latent. Because, see, with Dorsey at the top, once he implements the philosophy, then the folks below him go and carry it out. Everybody on the same page. People ask me all the time, man, what you think about the Browns, man? You think you're going to do this? I said, I got 2 words for you. John Dorsey. Okay, now we can talk about all the other stuff. Yeah, man, but John Dorsey. What else? How else you want me to say it? Tony Dungy. What did he say? Any pick in any round can be a hit or miss, but do you have the people and the folks in place who understand how to minimize that risk. So while every year the Browns folks was talking about who we going to get in the first round. I think we should take a linebacker. I think we should. No, like I tried to get Herm for this show, but unfortunately he's kind of busy. I tried to get him because I wanted him to tell you out of his own mouth. See what I'm saying? Look, man, when we went to Baltimore, he said, you don't always draft for need. Get the best dude available. If the best dude available is Ray Guy, then guess what? We're going to get Ray Guy, and we'll turn him into a receiver. He said, we'll bring him in now. Giuseppe was on cloud 9 after receiving an invitation to Perea for a workout 1 week later. Problem was, he'd bought a one-way flight to Miami with the last of his mother's rewards points. He boarded the plane set on earning a workout. He wasn't going back to Arizona, at least not until after his potential NFL chance was exhausted. He started the following days in a bedroom rented online, but still needed to stick around in Miami beyond his stay. Set on making it on his own and knowing his mother, Shauna, was operating on a budget, he chose the patch of grass for 2 nights in a 24-hour fitness center for another, keeping these details from his mom. Okay, now what? Huh? Let's go down the list of all these players, NBA, NHL, NFL, soccer, all these players that get all the sports center time. Which one I'm doing that? Huh? Because when is it ever going to not be about that? I want somebody to tell me on this panel or somebody else that's listening to the show, people that's going to listen to the show later, tell me that. That's what I want to know. When is it ever going to not be about? That's the stance and the foundation for which Barbershop J speak all the time. I like all the bells and whistles too, but if you ain't got this, you ain't got nothing. Huh? Tell me, is it live or is it Memorex? Let me read that again. He started the following days in a bedroom rented online, but still needed to stick around in Miami beyond his stay, set on making it on his own. And knowing his mother, Shauna, was operating on a budget, he chose the patch of grass for 2 nights and a 24-hour fitness center for another, keeping these details from his mom. I kept using guest passes, he said. I went to the laundromat to charge his phone, used that. Those were my 3 spots. The fitness center was showing the most love. They kept letting me come back. When he explains the story, Giuseppe sounds like he just finished running down the beach. There's so much to tell in so little time, and it spills out of his mouth, information arriving in rapid fire, like Barbershop J, maybe. Oh, okay, yeah. He was planning on sleeping on the beach, drifting off to the sound of the surf. For a few hours, that was his temporary home. Eventually, he grabbed his bags and decided to move camp closer to his place of business, next to a fence surrounding Bomberitos, the training home of multiple NFL standouts, Chiefs defensive line Chris Jones and Panthers wide receiver Curtis Samuel, to name a few. He trained there for a week, waking up and walking in at 6 a.m. and staying until 3 p.m. before deciding where he'd head to shower and charge his phone. For food, he wandered up to side street cookouts and had his mother and friends back in Arizona remotely order him meals. I ate like maybe once or twice a day, he said. I just had to see if I could get a meal that's going to hold me for the whole day. He was doing everything he could to make sure he was at his peak performance when his time came in Northeast Ohio. Why they call it that, I have no idea. Which surprisingly isn't far from a place he called home for a few years. In high school, Giuseppe moved from Arizona to Traverse City, Michigan. Okay, Double J, I feel you. Following his older brother to his father's home. That's where the second half of the hyphenated last name comes from, his father, John Giuseppe. Damon is one of 3 boys. The youngest, Dylan, is a guard on the VCU basketball team. Dylan's VCU bio offers a peek into their interesting journey with the listing of hometown Lake Havasu City resting right above the high school St. Francis, which is located in Traverse City, Michigan. You know where that's at, Double J? Double J? Okay, yeah. Well, at the end of the day, you know, he said he got his unflappable determination from his mom. You know, she graduated from St. Francis as well. He said, growing up at the time, and, you know, as he got older, he said that, you know, I realized how hard she worked for everything, you know, everything that she did. And that was just a blessing. She didn't have anybody come help her out. She did it all by herself. We didn't have no stepdad growing up, nothing like that. It was all by herself. So, you know, if Giuseppe, they say, sounds like a bit of a football name nomad, it's somewhat true. At the end of the day, man, I just want somebody to tell me, because the rest of the article just says, just talks about how he was in school, so on and so forth. I just want somebody to tell me again, when we talking sports and we doing this thing, man, tell me at what point is it never, ever going to be about that? Can any one of you all answer that for me, please? No. I'm saying when these guys, all the guys who get the invites, who in any sport today that we all know and recognize is doing what this guy did to get a shot. See, when you lose sight of the craft, man, that's the thing that irritates me so much about sports today. So many of these guys have lost sight of the craft. Now, for whatever reason, I don't know, you know what I mean? But when you finally get there, whatever there is, man, you got to stay true to what it is that you was doing that got you there. That's when you go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. What'd you say, Brother Rich? That was good stuff too, Double J. What'd you say, Brother Rich? Yeah. Yeah. I find this guy's story very, very compelling, very, very interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Forever. Yeah, and forever. Yeah. But see, yeah. Oh well, yeah, you ain't got to tell me that. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that 100%. But you know what? When they say luck, I don't know. It's just me personally. I don't think anything happens just by chance. I don't. That's just me personally. You know what I mean? I think, but I understand what you meant by that. You know what I mean? The things that everything kind of has to line up, but you got to be doing your part too, so to speak. Um, but yeah, man, I'm all for it. I look. I know Brother Richard and I, and Double J, we've been ribbing each other back and forth about the parade and so on and so forth. Um, it's not so much about I told you all before. when it comes to Cleveland, you know, and this being my hometown and so on and so forth, I'm just not one of them people. I'm not, like my mother said about me being her son. And I'm not going to say you right when you're wrong just because you're my son. I'm not going to say Cleveland's right when they're wrong just because I'm from Cleveland. I think that's crass and asinine, to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you, for me, when I put this thing together and I brought everybody on, you know, I wanted to share this with everybody. But it's about truth for me. It's either true or it's not. Now, we can debate it, discuss it, and the whole nine, but that's where I'm coming from. When I hit the power button, it's about truth or not true out the gate. And what is true when it comes to the Browns, I'll be the first one that was on them for these last 17, 18 years. Talking about bad product, abysmal. Ain't no way in the world, man. I grew up watching the fumble, the shot, the drive, all of that, and then I'm watching this stuff, and I'm seeing I can't even get through a first quarter without changing the channel, watching the Sound of Music. How dare you? And I waited up and called off or whatever it is I had to do that day so I could watch y'all on Sunday. And y'all do me like this? Yeah, I'm going to say something about it. But at the same time, yeah, I'm glad my grandfather introduced me to it. You get what I'm trying to tell you? Because now we're seeing the fruits of all of that misery. You feel what I'm trying to tell you? And I'm glad we got John Dorsey. Gully, you got the last word, man, before we get out of here. What you want to say? Indeed. Go Browns. Fellas, as always, that was good stuff. And on that note, it's been fun, but we got to run. We appreciate y'all for listening. Don't forget to check us out right here on the Spreaker.com network. You go to the search box and you type in the Shop Report. Or you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, and, of course, via email, the Shop Report 365@gmail.com, and now on Spotify as well. And if that don't work, Google it. For my guests, Brother Richard NYC, a.k.a. Rucker Park, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J, and my man D. Gully. And for all those who follow us on social media, we say thank you for your support. I'm Barbershop Jay, and you've been listening to the Shop Report. And remember, the next time y'all want to know what's really going on, man, come to the shop. Walk-in is always welcome. Holla.